Hello, I am Achan, also known as Achan, and today I'm going to be telling you about cooking. So, why should you cook? How do you cook? Those are the two main topics of today's video. So, why should you cook? Well, if you have foods that you like, you can make them yourself. Now, it's pretty crazy, but it's true. Alright, I don't really know why I started the video like that, to be honest. I think it's maybe because um I need like some kind of like intro. So like I have other YouTube channels that pop up on my feed, and basically a guy introduces himself and then says what he's going to talk about, and then he does it. Um so I don't know, it felt kind of weird. Um Anyways, I guess I'm just going to talk about cooking. Why should you learn how to cook? I mean, I don't want to say a bunch of obvious stuff like the intro to the video is like I was like you can cook whatever you want. I mean, that's kind of a waste of time to say that because everybody knows that you can just cook. Well, maybe some people don't actually think they can cook. Um, all right, let me get to the point. All right, so if you cook, imagine going to your favorite restaurant. You can just cook that, you know? And of course, the restaurants do it differently. I think most restaurants put way more fat and salt into their food, which is why it tastes better. Um, which I guess I'll make that the first rule is if you want your food to taste good, make it fat and make it salty. Fat and salt. That's basically the primary thing that makes food good. And you can see it everywhere, right? Donuts, fat, sugar, because basically the fat coats your tongue. It like primes your taste bud to receive maximum flavor. And then Uh, salt is just like a flavor booster, so that'll just boost the flavor. So, but the fat and salt combined is very good. And, that's why fast food is very fat and salty, and that's why it tastes so good. Um, and, with sweets, donuts, cake, cheesecake, all that stuff, it's fat and it's sugary and it's good. So that's the first rule is whatever you do, if you make something fat and salty, it's probably going to be good. Like even just you can take vegetables, put them in a pan, add butter and add salt, and they'll taste better than without those. So maybe that's obvious, but I don't really know what people do and don't know about cooking, but I know a lot of people who don't really cook. And that's probably the first thing I would say is you can just start with that, fat and salt. Okay, next thing is we're gonna go a few levels deeper. So I'm not gonna talk about cooking specific dishes, but about cooking, I guess cooking philosophy. When cooking, there's like five main flavors, and any ingredient that you have can fall under these. So you have salty, sour, sweet, bitter, and umami. And okay, umami is a weird one. I didn't know what that was for a long time. You can't reduce the flavor of like something that's salty. You can't describe it in any other way that it's salty because um, that's an irreducible flavor. It's salty, and that's the same thing with umami. So I don't know. I don't really have much to say about umami, but I know I was confused about that for a while. Um, so you have these five main flavors, and dishes when you eat them, they're usually a combination of these things. And what makes a dish bad is if it leans too much in, you can think about it as like a 5 point little diagram thing, right? And then the food kind of goes off in the different corners, right? It's like a donut, for example. The sourness would be like 0. The sugar is up here, and then I don't know. Do they taste yeasty? What is the flavor of yeast, right? Because bread and beer is made with yeast, and it taste like yeast. And I think yeast is umami. I don't know though. But anyways, the point is that all of your foods will fall in some sort of like arrangement of these five flavors. And you want to make your food uh not be too much in any direction as long as that's what the recipe requires. So I'll just give an example here that might be easier. So tomatoes, for example, are sour. Sometimes they're sweet, but they're also sour. So when you put a lot of tomato in a dish, the acidity of the dish is going to rise. So that you just have to keep track of, how much tomato you have in there, and, maybe not even think so much about tomato, but think more about sour. Onion, on the other hand, is um, kind of well, okay, first and foremost, it's sweet, but it's only sweet when you cook it. Before you cook it, I wouldn't really know how to describe it, but cooked onion is sweet. So if you make, this is why French onion soup tastes sweet, because onion's sweet. So when you have a dish, these five flavor profiles, there's like opposites, and you can use them to cancel each other out. So if something is, I believe, bitter, if something is bitter, adding sugar will bring it down. Or if something is very spicy, adding something like yogurt, this is why a lot of Indian cooking has yogurt, it'll bring the spice level down and make everything more well-rounded. Um, when something is too sour, I believe you can also use saltiness to bring down the sourness, or maybe that's for bitterness and sourness. I usually get those confused. Um, when I cook a lot, and to be honest, I don't really think about it because I've just been doing it for so long. I kind of just like put stuff in like as I'm going. I've never actually tried to explain it, so I just realized I'm actually not good at explaining this. Um, but without getting into any specific dish, you basically just want to be able to balance your dish out, right? So, oh, I added too much salt, right? Now you can add like uh, basically, like cooking, you don't have to follow recipes to a T, you can, but if you want to make it your own, you need to tailor it to what you like, to your taste buds. So, um, yeah, I'm just kind of blanking out here. You want to tailor it to your taste buds. So you need to be familiar with what does what so that you can adjust your dish appropriately. Um, this is important if you're cooking with leftovers, or if you're cooking a recipe and you're missing a few ingredients. Knowing the different, flavor profiles of different items you might have in your pantry or your fridge will help you uh, substitute things that you might be missing, right? So tamarind is um, sour, and there's a lot of recipes that call for tamarind. If you're cooking on, like Indian, Asian style stuff, there's tamarind every now and then. But maybe you don't have tamarind, right? Maybe you don't even know what that is. You can just use lemon, right? Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. Maybe it won't be like down to the exact recipe, but it'll be good. And that is that is the ultimate thing when you're cooking, is you want it to be good, and you want to like it. So you don't have to follow the recipe. You can, do it however you want. Some people, they take recipes and they like cut out all the fat, and then they have a recipe that is like healthier. Another thing is like cooking for guests, cooking for people. You want to make sure that if someone has a low spice tolerance, then you don't put as much spices in there. If, I mean, obviously, if someone doesn't like tomatoes, don't put tomatoes in the recipe. So that's the main rule for cooking for other people, is you just have to be considerate with what people like and don't like. Um, or else you, or else they're gonna have to like lie to you and tell you that the food's good even though it's not, and then it's like kind of weird. You're like, okay, um, all right, that was like a quick 10 minutes. That felt pretty stupid, honestly. That was pretty. Um, I could have explained that better, but all these videos have no planning, so it's kind of fits the vibe. So, well, I guess I can go longer than 10 minutes if I'm talking about cooking. I don't really know what else to say though about cooking is well, I guess another thing is it's totally uh a muscle that you train. The more you cook, the more familiar you'll feel, the more at home you'll feel in your own kitchen. You'll be able to make dishes and, adjust them on the fly to make sure that they're good. Taste them one last time at the end. Does this need more fat? Right? Is it salty enough? Um, is my dish too sour? There's a lot of times I've cooked foods and either it's too sour, um, it's too sweet, right? So sometimes I put too much onion in a curry, then the curry tastes too sweet, and I'm like, this is off. I add more tomato because that'll cancel the sweetness. Um, if it's too salty, uh, well, that one's a little hard to recover from. If it's too salty, you gotta put water in it or something. All right. Well, that's my cooking video. Thanks for watching.